Today I'm breaking down 7 red flags that tell you loud and clear if you have a toxic boss or workplace leader. See, here's the game they don't tell you. A lot of people in charge that got titles aren't really leading anything or anybody. They're just bossing people around, managing people, giving orders, demanding obedience, and hiding behind big titles and salaries. But leadership requires accountability, clarity, and character. And if you've ever had that quiet gut feeling, like something about this don't sit right, trust that feeling. Because toxic leadership doesn't just cost companies money, it costs you, the workers, your peace, your confidence, and if you're not careful, it can even cost you your health and sanity. So let's talk about these red flags. Red flag number 1, the credit thief. You ever notice how every win belongs to this boss, but every loss somehow lands on you or your coworkers? When project succeeds, they're in the meeting talking about my vision, my leadership, my strategy. Project struggles, doesn't work, then suddenly it's, why didn't you think this through? That's not leadership, that's a bully with a title. A real leader shares credit and absorbs responsibility. A toxic boss, however, does the opposite. And once people realize their work will be stolen, their ideas will be stolen, motivation dies. Think about it. Why would you innovate or be creative for somebody who robs you in broad daylight and then complains when you mess up, but almost never thanks you for doing a great job? Red flag number 2, the micromanager. This type of boss drains the soul. They hired you for your skills or your knowledge. Then they stand over your shoulder questioning everything you do. How long is that taking? Why'd you do it that way? You know what? I'm just going to do it. Listen carefully. This isn't about you. That's their insecurity, and probably most importantly, they need to control everything. A leader hires capable people, gives them direction and guidance and clarity, and lets them do their work. A toxic boss has to control everything and everyone in order to feel important. But micromanagement is not leadership. That's a lack of trust and a need to control. And trust me, leaders do not shackle the people they depend on. Red flag number 3, the silent treatment. This one is dangerous. They don't give clear instructions. They don't give straight answers. They got meetings that waste your time and accomplish nothing. Information comes late or not at all. Expectations change without warning. But somehow, all of this is your fault. That type of misleadership causes confusion, rumors, and chaos. And chaos is a control tactic. Strong, effective leaders communicate clearly. They don't speak in riddles. They don't assume that you have ESP and you're just going to psychically figure out what they want. And they don't change the rules every 2 and 3 weeks. They're certainly not going to punish you with silence. If you feel like you're always guessing, you're not in a leadership environment. Red flag number 4, the emotional roller coaster. You don't know where this person's coming from. You don't know if they woke up on the right or wrong side of the bed on any given day. One day they're cool, next day they got temper tantrums. So now you're walking on eggshells, afraid to say anything, afraid to do anything, don't want to ask your questions, right? You're watching their mood change every 5 minutes. That's not professional. That's emotional instability in authority. A leader, on the other hand, may get upset with you, but they know how to regulate themselves. They're not going to unload all their anxiety and all their stress or all their mistakes onto other people, certainly not their workers. In fact, good leaders help to remove your stress and anxiety. They do that by different leadership skills, being clear in what they want and expect, being consistent and predictable, and being approachable. Toxic bosses rule through fear, shaming, blaming, and favoritism. People don't learn to become leaders themselves. They just learn to follow orders and keep the boss happy. So you work there, you get some pay, but you don't really learn anything because you're not allowed to learn. You're not seeing a real leader at work. You're seeing a toxic boss. Red flag number 5, the criticism bomb. You notice how the feedback only comes to you when something goes wrong. You don't get coaching. You don't get any type of leadership development or real job training. You just get a ton of complaints. Nothing you do is enough. Nothing you do well is acknowledged. And eventually, you give up. You stop trying new ideas. You keep all your ideas to yourself. That's how toxic bosses shrink people. Leaders, on the other hand, will correct and encourage. Now, listen, if you come with something that sounds sideways or doesn't fit the culture of that organization, that job place, they're going to tell you. The leader will tell you, no, in certain terms, no, we don't do that here. Or, I'm sorry, but that's not correct information. But they will correct and they'll encourage you. They don't give you the sense that you can't give ideas. They give you the sense, don't come to them with no foolish ideas. There's a difference. They provide direction and they sharpen you. When you leave that job place, you'll be a better person and a better worker as a result, and might even learn to be a better leader. If all you hear from your so-called boss is what's wrong, everything wrong about you and what you do, you're not being led, you're not being taught or mentored, you're being worn down. Red flag number 6, the favoritism game. Now, every toxic boss has an inner circle. The same names, the same faces, the same people. And these people get protected and excused by the boss, no matter how incompetent they are, no matter how many products they mess up. Meanwhile, everybody else is competing with each other instead of collaborating with each other because they're trying to get into that inner circle. That type of division is counterproductive and intentional. A divided team is easier to control than a unified team. Real leaders create fairness and cohesion. They make sure everybody that needs to be informed is informed. They make sure that everybody that needs to give input gives input. They don't play favorites. They don't build fake and false standards. If loyalty matters more than competence, you're not in a leadership culture. You're in a political culture. And I might say an unethical political culture. Red flag number 7. We'll call this the visionless wonder. Now, this one really seals the deal. They're all tasks, no purpose, no vision, no direction. You never get to see the big picture. Just do this, do that, be here, this time. You're busy all the time, but you're not building anything. There's no growth path. There's no long-term vision. You're just on a treadmill doing factory line work. A leader is going to always show you where we're going as a team, as a company. They give meaning to that hard work you do. Now, if the person in charge can't explain the why, they're not leading you anywhere. A true leader is like the North Star, a force that's guiding you, directing you to a safer, more productive place. A toxic boss, on the other hand, is a bully and a task maker disguised as a leader. Now, if any of these points hit home to you, you're not crazy, you're not too sensitive, you're responding normally. You're responding to a toxic authority. Now, how you handle that is another discussion. I'm not suggesting you quit immediately, particularly if you don't have another job. I'm not suggesting you run up in the boss's office and curse him out and yell at him. That's not going to be helpful either. You'll just get arrested and fired. Drop your experiences in the comments. Let's compare notes. Let's get smart together. And remember, titles don't make leaders. Leaders move by character, competence, consistency, and clarity. Wise OG, signing out. Like if this hit, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe to the Wise OG for more grown man wisdom.